Welcome to another video. Purple Political Talk here. Today is Friday, June 25th, 2021, and today we're going to be taking a look at some of the latest 2022 United States Senate polls and look at some of these shocking results and discuss what these poll numbers that are heavily favoring the Democrats at this point in many key races, what does that mean for the overall control of the U.S. Senate? So before we get started, I wanted to remind you guys to like, subscribe, and turn on post notifications to be up to date with our latest content. And also, that I will be posting a lot more great content soon, so you guys don't want to miss that. So now that we got that out of the way, let's get started with the video. So we don't have too many polls compared to what we had, prior to election season. Now, the polls that we do have are in some states that are pretty telling of what could happen to the control of the U.S. Senate. I'm going to start just going from the bottom, from the top down, and then we're going to discuss some polls I found on other sites. So, first of all, I want to talk about the race in Alaska. So, Alaska is an interesting race because you have Lisa Murkowski. She is, with the new wing of the Republican Party, Lisa Murkowski is not as popular as she once was with her, Romney-style wing of the party. She is facing a lot of backlash from the Trump side of the party, and that is why they've essentially primaried her with Ms. Shibaka right here. So this race is going to be interesting because I'm not sure if Lisa Murkowski could beat Shibaka in a race. I'm not sure how big the influence of Trump is in Alaska. If it is high and she wins the primary, she goes on and she's probably going to go out and win the race. She's running against Al Gross at this point, or she's not running against him. He is the big rumored candidate for the Democratic side. He's ran for Senate a couple times, and he ran unsuccessfully. And I think he's a pretty good candidate for the Democrats in Alaska, but it's still probably not enough. Going on to our next race, Patty Murray, plus 16. This is pretty much a safe state already. Washington. She is the party leadership. She shouldn't have any trouble winning the race. Now, going on to the polls that really matter, in the states that really matter when it comes to the control of the U.S. Senate, you have Pennsylvania and you have Arizona. So first of all, we have the state of Pennsylvania. This is a data for progress poll. This is a little bit more biased for the Democrats, but it's a poll anyways. I think that even with the biased polls, I think you should be looking at plus or minus 3 or 4 as your margin of error of the political skewness. So right now we have John Fetterman, the lieutenant governor of Pennsylvania, running against two candidates. You have State Senator Sean Parnell, and then you have Bartos. I do not know who that is, but Fetterman is having a big lead, plus 8 and plus 10 in these polls. If Fetterman does end up being the candidate for the Pennsylvania Senate, I think that you're looking at the Democrats possibly, pretty likely picking this up. And I think it's very interesting. If you take a look at 2016 Senate elections in Pennsylvania results, this is the same seat. I'm not even looking at Tom Wolf's seat, that's not Tom Wolf, Bob Casey's seat. I'm taking a look at just the same seat. Pat Toomey, who is the current incumbent, won this seat by, a good 1.5%. Now, during this race, he also had a big libertarian influence, taking around 3% of the vote. That is huge. So when you see this race and you say, well, why are the Democrats winning that much? They're just flipping a lot of voters. And I think it's something that's very important to tell. I think the Republicans realistically do have a chance in this race. But these polls tell us the otherwise. I mean, if the Democrats can go in and win all of the Republican areas, if they can go out and win voters in, certain parts of the state, like, out in the west part of the state, they could win this race. Now, is John Fetterman the right person to that? Who knows? But according to these polls, he is. And he, I think at this point in time, only time will tell what's going to happen in these races, but I think these are pretty big influences. And last, we have our poll from from FiveThirtyEight, which is Arizona. So we actually got a lot of polls, and these polls are pretty shocking in my opinion. I think you're looking at, someone like Mark Kelly, completely sweeping the race. They put him up against most of the Republican candidates. Again, there's a lot of undecided voters, which at the end of the day, I think would end up going to the Republican Party. But, when you have Kelly plus 10, Kelly plus 9, Kelly plus 11, Kelly plus 11, plus 11, plus 14, plus 10. And these are against the big candidates who are rumored to run. You have Attorney General Ronovich. You have McQuarrie, you have Biggs, you have Kelly Ward. Kelly Ward is the head of the Arizona GOP, and if she does run, she's going to have great support amongst the Trump base of the party. But with the establishment vote, she is not going to do very, very well. Going on to some other candidates, you have Lake, you have McCain, and E. I think that at the end of the day, these results are just great for Kelly, and I think the two races that are the most important to control for Senate, for the Democrats, there's actually three. We have Georgia's Senate election. The seat is now up for re-election, Raphael Warnock's seat. You have the seat in Pennsylvania, Pat Toomey's seat. You have Arizona, which is crucially important. If the Republicans are able to, go in and win the seat, it's going to be a miracle in Arizona. And if they do, it's just an extra padding. And I think for the whole race, or the whole race for the U.S. Senate, these polls right now are not good for the GOP. Chuck Schumer and Democratic leadership in the Senate must be, super happy with these race polls. I mean, I just think at the end of the day, what's going to end up happening is in the Senate, the Democrats are just going to take a lead, and it's going to be hard for the Republicans to come back in a lot of races. So those are the polls from 538. Let's take a look at some other election polls. In Florida, Marco Rubio is running for Senate. Now, we don't have any polls against the conceived front runner in Val Demings. Now, what I will say is against generic Democrats. So for the most part, you have Rubio up by 6, and you see, and even in the more data for progress, which are biased, you have the Democrats just up by 1. And then against Stephanie Murphy, she's not running, but 51 to 41. I think it's also based on name recognition. But I think another thing becomes clear. Florida is likely to end up going to the GOP, and by a lot. Marco Rubio is going to have great appeal with the Trump voters down in South Florida. He's going to have great appeal with the voters, up in Tampa. I think that at the end of the day, what's really going to come down to is where the Hispanic vote from Miami-Dade County ends up going. If they end up voting for Val Demings, it's going to be tough for Marco Rubio, which I think just, basing it off of who these both candidates could have appeal to, I think Marco Rubio is, the clear choice for a lot of Latino voters. And, I think that Trump really set up the Republicans in Florida to succeed forever. I think that the 2020 election was a turning point in Florida. I think for a period of around 10 to 12 years, Republicans are going to have extreme control in Florida. And I'm not even sure if that period is going to end and it's going to become a safe state for the Republicans. But one thing is for sure, Florida is no longer the swing state it once was. I think Florida is now taking the place of Ohio. Florida is going to turn into Ohio. And little by little, it's going to be becoming more and more red. And I think within the next couple of years, we're going to see that trend. And of course, swing states always rotate. States like Georgia and Arizona and Pennsylvania are the new Floridas. They're the new states that are always super close. But, Florida is going in more further into the Republican column. Now I want to take a look at the last polls we have. These would be Georgia Senate polls. You see, these polls are actually really interesting. So Trafalgar gave us polls for this race, and they gave us pretty much primary race, and then they gave us Georgia Senate. So this race is really important for the control of the Senate. If the Democrats can hold on to Raphael Warnock's seat, this would be a big victory for them. It's a 6-year seat. This seat is getting reelected. But I think the big thing here is that Georgia is the key. He is there. It's the key to the U.S. Senate. So taking a look at the main polls right here, we see Walker is, leading the pack by a lot. Walker, he is more popular than, I guess, Collins and Loeffler. And, I think that one of the things that we have to see is for the Democrats to win here, for the Republicans to win here, they're going to have to run the right candidates. Kelly Loeffler was rejected by voters against Raphael Warnock. And you can see this clearly in this polling data. Raphael Warnock is giving a 5-point advantage against Kelly Loeffler. Well, he's only given a 1-point advantage. And again, this is a biased poll. It's Trafalgar. I think Trafalgar. And, it's questionable, you know. Although they had one of the closest 2020 polling averages, so that's something to consider. But you know, overall, what this poll tells us is Collins and Loeffler, you know, Georgia GOP, you know, the people that ran in the last race, unpopular. But if they run someone new like Walker, they might have a little bit slighter of an advantage. So this poll is not as bad for the GOP, although it's not ideal. I think Raphael Warnock still has a great chance of winning this race, and what this poll tells us is just that. Again, remember, we're still very far out. We're almost a year and a half away from general elections. So I think that's another thing to consider. Now, as far as primaries goes, Republican voters really want Walker and Collins. Loeffler is unpopular. She falls behind heavily with Walker, with Collins. And I think at the end of the day, it's something that just happens naturally because of Kelly Loeffler's unpopularity. And she just comes off as out of touch. You know, I think this race, if the Republicans do win it, it's going to bring them back, you know, to maybe better results in the U.S. Senate. But at the end of the day, the Senate right now, with the polls that we do have, that I think they're just really showing us that the Democrats have some sort of advantages when it comes to the U.S. Senate. And at the end of the day, if the Democrats are able to pull off as many seats as this is expecting them to, I think the Democrats should be in for winning the Senate, and not only that, expanding their you know, pseudo majority, because right now they don't really have a majority. Right now they have a fragile majority where literally just one senator, Kirsten Sinema or Joe Manchin, decides to flip, they're completely screwed. So this is going to be great for the Democrats if they're able to expand their seats. So guys, I hope you guys enjoyed the video. If so, please give a huge thumbs up, like, subscribe, turn on post notifications to be up to date with our latest content. Thank you so much for watching, and goodbye.